In today's video, we're going to be having a conversation about if the Pokemon market for investing is dead. But before we jump into it, as always, we do weekly giveaways, and today is Monday, which is the day in which we announce our weekly winners. All you have to do to enter is leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And without further ado, I will introduce the three winners for the week. A little bit of a drum roll. Gonna move my face quickly out of the way. The three winners are for Jason, Solis, Hank Channel, and then Diva Lalhala. So I apologize if I am botching that, but those are the three winners. And for you guys that are wondering as well, obviously this last 2 weeks, I only posted one video. 2 weeks ago, it was because Monday was a holiday. And then last week, I just got super busy because it was Paldea week and I had 300 plus packages I had to ship out. So I apologize about that. But outside of that, make sure to follow us at our other socials. Twitter, we're doing giveaways on that as well. Links down in the description. And then outside of that, as well, if we ever have any spots for a Patreon, highly recommend you check it out. But jumping into today's video, so I'm not going to be showing the second monitor like I usually do. I'm just going to be having a sit down and talk conversation with y'all because holy crap, the response that I've been getting from everyone has been ridiculous on the negativity that I've just been hearing in the market. Like the big rawr, like this is this is so bad. How is this it? Eli is investing dead. Are the margins gone? I've seen videos from every which YouTuber where people have been saying this is it, we're going back to the old times of Pokemon investing being dead, or there's no free tendies, or blah 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 blah. However you want to have a conversation about when it comes to having this discussion. And of course, you're going to hear it on Twitter too, because Twitter likes to be very hyperbolic. And I'm here to just basically give my kind of thoughts for the day on if this is true or not, what's the validity of it all. So first, I want to start off by giving you guys a little bit of a history lesson when it comes to just the Pokemon market as a whole, going back as far as the XY era. So for those of you that weren't in the XY era, this is obviously going to be a little informative, but maybe if you were, you might remember this part. But the XY era was a terrible time for Pokemon. It honestly was an absolutely rough, atrocious time. We have other YouTubers such as Rudy, who will definitely profess to this as well. I mean, that's how he got extremely popular, because if you go look at the time of Ancient Origins, you look at the time of Roaring Skies and such, when it came to the overall hype for Pokemon, it was just not there. It was a player's market. Obviously, I mean, we saw what happened with Roaring Skies and the Shaman and how that brought the price of booster boxes up, but it wasn't because everyone was in love with the card artwork, as XY was considered to be an extremely lackluster era. It wasn't really until Evolutions came around, which was a set to kind of wrap things up, where people started to get a little bit more hyped going into it. You saw a little bit of a boost in the Sun and Moon era, kind of, you know, didn't get a really nice the boost didn't last that long because people were not the biggest fan of the first half of SM, and by the second half you started to see more hype for the market once again. But ultimately you had this kind of dead down period where margins for investing in Pokemon, which to be fair, investing in Pokemon was not nearly as big as it was back then as it is now, but it was just still not really a thing. It was just not nearly as viable of an opportunity when it came to getting the same flips that we're getting today. However, with that being said, there were still tons of opportunities now looking back on it, because we saw that, hey, when it came to Pokemon booster boxes, obviously for a lot of, you know, storefronts, the margins were thin. Sure, you could best case scenario walk away if you were an online retailer with 5 to 10% margins, and storefronts could get more, you know, 15, 20+% margins, but it just wasn't the same as it is. But when it came to long-term investments, it was very much so, if you got a 20% investment return over like the span of a year or two, you were happy, right? That was an insane return. Obviously you had those kind of outliers, whether it be Evolutions, whether it be Roaring Skies, etc., but it wasn't as common as it is nowadays, where we've seen a ton of different pops, whether it be from Evolving Skies, Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin, Silver. I mean, just about anything in the second half of the Sword and Shield era. Even within the first half of the Sword and Shield era, cards were popping off like crazy. Now you can contribute it to the main factors of demand. You can contribute it to the factors of COVID. I mean, there's so many different things you can contribute it to. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the opportunities back then in the short to medium term were not nearly as good as they are today. Or so we may think, because the sentiment right now in the market is that these opportunities are starting to go away and we're going to go to a new normal of opportunities are just gone. Or we're going to say Pokemon investing is just dead, right? You've heard this hyperbolic tendency. This is just how it is. But this is going to be my general statement and my general sentiment towards this, right? When it comes to, and I said this, right? I said this and I got so much crap about Paldea Evolved, where I said Paldea Evolved is going to become the Rebel Clash of the Scarlet and Violet era. And people gave me so much flack for it because I basically said, hey, does the set have amazing art designs? Of course it does. But at the end of the day, art designs, although they can do a lot for a set, you really got to make sure that you can blow them away with art designs on top of amazing characters. When it comes to Lost Origin, Giratina is a card that not only is it hard to pull because pull rates for Lost Origin are just absolutely brutal, but it's a card that people absolutely loved. Aerodactyl, although it's not, you know, a super high demand character, it still has an amazing artwork to carry it out. And when it comes to Scarlet and Violet, it has a lot of amazing artworks, but it has characters that people don't really care that much about because there's always going to be a nostalgia factor when it comes to new sets with specific cards, right? When you look at this new set and you say, all right, well, what is the nostalgia factor of Paldea Evolved? Other than the boss's order cards, you're talking about just a new waifu character that you're going to try and chase. And other than that, the Magikarp, you know, illustration design, which is gorgeous. The Tyranitar, those are the cards that are doing the best. It's the nostalgic cards. That's why if you look at the Sword and Shield era, the Pokemon sets that did the worst in the Sword and Shield era were the ones that focused heavily on the overall art designs for the generation of Sword and Shield Pokemon. Obviously, you can make an argument and say that, well, that's not 100% true because if you look at, you know, Chilling Reign, the Moltres, but still, the Moltres was a fan favorite Pokemon with a different variant that was even cooler than the original. I mean, arguably, I would say it was an incredible art design, right? But if you look at battle styles, if you look at Fusion Strike, I mean, the Sandaconda, no one cared about the Sandaconda. No one cared about a lot of the other alternate art designs that had their new regions, right? And so this is being played out in real time right now with Scarlet and Violet. And because of that, people are like, this is the end. This is it. And I think that the reason why it's even more hyperbolic now more than ever is because of a couple of reasons why. One, when it came to the Sword and Shield era, because everyone has short-term memory, people forgot that this is something that's extremely normal with every new set, because when it came to Sword and Shield, that didn't last that long thanks to COVID and the other factors that caused short prints. And then by the time we did get some more printed product, it was leading into sets like Chilling Reign, like Evolving Skies, like Brilliant Stars, Fusion Strike, Celebrations. It was really the first half of the Sword and Shield era, which arguably was an extremely weak, you know, half block, which is why people kind of forgot about it. And there's a reason why the booster boxes for Rebel Clash and for Sword and Shield base are just at $200+ because there just wasn't a ton printed, right? However, with Scarlet and Violet, where we aren't having issues with the overall, you know, print more or less. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own kind of opinions on that, but, you know, supply chains aren't a relative issue when it comes to COVID. That's kind of in the past at this point. And you're seeing a point of demand, which we're still at a decent demand for Pokemon in the hobby. I mean, look at some of these Sword and Shield era cards and sets and everything, right? So we know it's there, but couple that with the rise of MSRP, it is just not a fun time for the overall collector, because they're like, hey, it's a new set. There's a new generation of cards that I have no nostalgic ties to that I really care about. They have these stupid little hats on top of them for the Terra typing cards that I don't really care about. The price of the booster boxes for wholesale and MSRP has gone up 10, 20 bucks. And everything just feels extremely lackluster right now. So it's just everything is hitting all at once. And in all honesty, there is going to more than likely be a potential drawback in overall demand in the short to medium term. But I want people to still understand that Pokemon and the hobby itself is still in an extremely strong place long-term as a brand and IP. However, yes, the parabolic nature of a lot of these items could potentially just be a lot more stagnant than we would like, but that doesn't really matter, because when it comes to general markets, you're always going to have your upswings and you're always going to have your downswings, and the people that are going to make the most money are during the downswing times. Imagine you had the opportunity to go back and get an Evolutions booster box for sub $100. Imagine you got to get a Hidden Fates Pokemon tin for $10, or you got to get a Shining Legends ETB for 30, 35 bucks. I mean, there's so many examples of products that went on flash sale prices or super cheap prices that you were able to, not make a ton of value in the short to medium term, but if you held on to it for just several years, your returns would have been absolutely monstrous or killer, right? And that's kind of the thing. If you look at the worst sets, even within the Sun and Moon era and the Sword and Shield era, or within the XY era going a little bit farther back, they still performed extremely well. Crimson Invasion, for those of you guys that remember, there was flash sales of Crimson Invasion booster boxes online and at local game stores for as low as $60 to $65 a booster box. That sounds crazy by nowadays standards, but that was during the time when wholesale was a lot cheaper. But what ended up happening, I mean, the price has still gone up. I mean, you still could have 2-3 extra money at the high if you bought in at that price. So there's still money to be made even off of these terrible sets. And when you take a look and you say to yourself, all right, well, Scarlet and Violet Base and Paldea Evolved, we know so far are going to be short printed sets. Why can't we see a repeat, as I mentioned before, of Rebel Clash and Sword Shield Base, where these sets don't get a ton of print because the Pokemon Company realizes the demand for these items are not going to be super high. We're going to move forward with other sets that are going to be super high demand, like 151. We'll have a conversation about that on Wednesday as we get all of the secret rares revealed. And obviously with Obsidian Flames, it's going to be a Charizard set. Whether you love it or you hate it, Charizards will perform well in the long term. It's just how it's been history. The Charizard tax is real. So it's like you're going to have opportunities present themselves. You're just going to have to be patient, right? You're just going to have to be patient more than ever. You can't be anxious and jittery and consistently, be in and out all the time, because right now, the patient investor is going to be the ones that are most rewarded in this current environment. It's the ones that are going to wait for those cream of the crop opportunities to pick up prices. I mean, a perfect example of this, right? I've seen quite a bit of videos. I think Twice Big Jake posted one about Crown Zenith just being everywhere at big box retailers, right? Well, what do big box retailers love to do when they're sitting on an absolute crap ton of product? Put them on rollback, put them on price cuts, put them on Black Friday deals. And boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, it might feel like it's still a while away, but 5 months from now, if you're seeing products still sit on the shelves, you could see 50% plus discounts when it comes to a lot of these products. And you might say, that sounds ridiculous to say, but it's happened before for tins, and even a 30 to 40% discount on an MSRP Elite Trainer box is just an insane value depending upon the set that it's going to be at. And as I said before, an example of an insane discount, now looking at it, it was the Hidden Fates discount for Black Friday that was being given out at Target. It was $10 a Hidden Fates tin. Absolute insane value, but Hidden Fates, which was and still is an amazing high demand set. You had an opportunity to pick this stuff up for dirt cheap. And so if we're saying to ourselves that we're going to get 151, which this set, it feels as if everyone's overlooking Paldea because, you know, the set's pretty lackluster for a lot of people and a lot of people's opinions. And then moving past even Obsidian Flames after seeing the leak of the Charizard, we haven't even seen the rest of the cards, so we can all calm down. But it feels like everyone's overlooking it and moving on to 151. If you have an opportunity to go in during, you know, release, and let's say prices are a little bit higher because it's 151, the demand's going to be there. But at the same exact time, we know you wait a couple of months, I mean literally 2 months, and it's going to be Black Friday. It would not surprise me if you'd have some opportunity for flash sales. Heck, Crown Zenith flash sales opportunities are going on right now. GameStop has been doing a pro week where it's buy two, get a third free. You've been able to access, I don't know if it's available now, I haven't checked today, but I've been checking the past 2 to 3 days, and every single day it's been available for me to go pick up some Crown Zenith pin collections, and I can get it slightly above wholesale if I pick them up, or I can pick up some Build and Battle Steams, which you guys know I love, or some other items that are available currently on GameStop. So there's always going to be deals, there's always going to be opportunities, there's always going to be free tendies, but it's just not going to be as common. You're going to have to be able to look a little bit harder and be a little bit more patient for when these opportunities present themselves, because of the natural drawback of what's going on right now within the first half of the block for Scarlet and Violet, right? And this happened for the start of Sun and Moon, this happened for the start of the XY half block, this happened for the start of the Sword and Shield block. There's always just a lackluster natural demand. We always hear the it's over, this is it, but it's always been this way. It's always been lackluster, and it's just a lot of individuals with either short-term memory or new people in the hobby that just are unaware. Because I remember back in the day, guys, when I was having conversations, when was the overall hype for Pokemon gonna die out? We had this conversation back during celebrations where we said, this is it, celebrations, after celebrations, Pokemon hype's gonna die down. And although it did die down quite a bit, the overall hype in the market was still extremely strong. In Modern, it was mainly just the vintage products that did not perform extremely well, and Modern still performed, 2022 was another record-breaking year in terms of overall Pokemon card sales for the Pokemon Company. And so it just goes to show you that you can never really predict these things, and we might think, yes, the demand is going to go down, it's not going to perform that well, it's not going to do that well, but ultimately at the end of the day, Pokemon's going to be Pokemon, and as long as you're able to create some sort of hype and keep people entailed in the market, and there's going to be a, generated move off of continuous back-to-back-to-back amazing sets, then you're going to bring the attention of people because of some newfound innovation, right? We saw that with alternate arts being huge in the Sun and Moon era, Hidden Fates in the first introduction of Shiny Vault, and now bringing that over with character rares as well, and all of this innovation into the Sword and Shield era, and then we're eventually going to probably see this exact kind of stuff in the Scarlet and Violet era. So right now we're not seeing it, and so because of that, other than the illustration rares, there's nothing super exciting that a lot of people are fighting for at stores. And also as well, you've seen pull rates for, at least from my personal experience, especially if you checked out our live break we did for Paldea, it felt as if we did the math, we averaged about one alternate art or SIR, secret illustration rare, at a 1 in every 24 packs. So you do the math on that, you get 2 every 3 booster boxes, I think how it is, or no, you get 3 every 2 booster boxes. So the odds and the pull rates for these are super duper easy from my personal experience, and from the collector's perspective, this shouldn't really matter, but from an investor perspective, and the value of it all and flipping, it's made people upset, and especially when everyone's looking to what's going on with Lord of the Rings set from Magic the Gathering, the serialized cards. There's always, Eli, should we have serialized cards? It's like, it's always comparing apples to oranges and everything else going on in the market. But ultimately, I'm going to try and wrap it up here. as we cross the 20-minute mark for this video. Do I think the demand in the hobby has gone down? Yes. Do I think there are multiple different factors, as I listed, that cause this, whether it be the increase to MSRP, whether it be being the first block where we're not going to see as much innovation as it is heavily focused on the player base compared to the collector base, the lackluster of the overall characters being involved so far, the hatred for the fact that there is little crowns on these Pokemon Terra type heads, and the lack of nostalgia because it is a new set. All of these things just kind of clamoring on together make it so that people have a very negative outlook on the market, but the general fundamentals of the market are going to be extremely good long term. And for those that are negative, all you have to think is Pokemon's been around for 25 plus years now, and they're going strong, and they're a market that's going to have their ups, they're going to have their downs, and the people that are become the wealthiest in any single market are the ones that are going to be patiently waiting on the sideline for those amazing opportunities, and they're going to be able to hop in, and they're going to take advantage of it when those opportunities present themselves. But as far as it goes, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for today's video. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. As always, make sure if you want to enter into our weekly giveaways, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, we're doing giveaways on Twitter. Link is down in the description below. All you have to do to follow us and retweet any of our posts to get entered in. And outside of that, Patreon and Discord is the place to be. Patreon, if we ever have a spot available, for access to wholesale market prices on Pokemon, Magic, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And then Discord if you want to stay up to date on all things whenever we make any sort of PokemartUSA announcements. But that is all. Thank you guys all so much. Until then, I will see you all on Tuesdays live at 12:30. Peace.